I am not a PvPer whatsoever. But you know what I am? A speculator of lore. That's right. I've been hinting at some old god stuff coming in specifically. And maybe some old god stuff centered around Sibelian. I told you guys he's not somebody to trust. Now, I don't know if that's what gets talked about in this video, but I do know it was on the little picture. You know, the little picture that it shows as preview to the video. They had Sibelian on there. Now, maybe Tidewell, or not Tidewell, Taliesin and Evitel are as smart as me, and they know Sibelian shouldn't be trusted. I don't trust him, and I think he's still influenced by the old gods. But let's see. Every clue in Dragonflight so far leading up to 10.1 about they're saying 2 new old gods. Let's see what Taliesin and Evitel have to say about this subject.
This video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and today we are talking World of Warcraft Dragonflight.
Same as you, Bloodwood,
old gods.
Bloodwood.
And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, this is going to be a short video then, isn't it? Because I'm a simple soul and I don't know much, but there's one thing I do know, and that's there are no old gods in Dragonflight. Obviously, because it's a dragon expansion, whether it be one of those twink anime dragons with the long arms, or one of those ones that would be a bit scary except for their little arms. No voidy, tentacly, glowy-eyed nastiness here. No siree. And, well, honestly, you're wrong. Like, as wrong as you can possibly be. Because right from the very beginning, old gods have been a lingering presence in Dragonflight.
That's right.
And with patch 10.1 now on the PTR, they are well and truly coming out of the shadows and look like they're not just set to be a major part of proceedings going forward, but that we are heading for a very big reveal very, very soon.
10.1.
So join us as we go through the entire expansion so far,
the big reveal.
10.1, and look at every single old god reference and foreshadowing we can to try and work out what is going to happen next. Okay? Go, 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 go. Like I say, Dragonflight has made no real secret of its old god undertones at any point, which is fitting, really. Don't forget that the Dragon Isles might be a brand new continent full of beautiful Tuskar Adonises and excellent dragon racing spots now, but in concept, a landmass called the Dragon Isles has been in the game files since WoW first launched in 2004 as an unfinished and abandoned zone that was originally intended to be playable on release, along with the Emerald Dream, which, you know, I wouldn't mind betting that we end up spending a fair bit of time there this expansion too. And obviously that zone was unfinished and pushed into a 19-year back burner, but do you know what the OG Dragon Isles is full of? Not beautiful Tuskar Adonises, that's for sure. Right. No, old god temples. The original concept for the Dragon Isles didn't really have much to do with dragons at all, and instead
I've seen this since years ago. Been seeing this this old god temple, you know, the tentacly looking octopus one.
Kind of
that was one of the original Dragon
riddled
Isles.
with monuments to the void. And naturally, when this Dragonflight now was revealed to a rainbow-tastic dragony fanfare, it was only natural that people would wonder how much of that original concept the current team would stay true to. And, well, we didn't have to wait very long for our answer. With old god-adjacent themes and events present in every single episode of the Legacy's 2.5D animation prequels, Galakrond, Deathwing, and a straight-up depiction of the very moment that Neltharion gave in to old god corruption on the steps of his gaff in the Forbidden Reach. And this wasn't a retelling of known events. This was explicitly placing the Earthwarden's fall in the Dragon Isles itself.
Stupid hoe won't give me her mount skin.
It didn't take long for players to start noticing other decidedly voidy antics on the Dragonflight beta. Famously, Haughty Chicken, the official nicest streamer in the whole history of the world, discovered a shipwreck off the western coast of the Isles that had a glowing N'Zoth eye and accompanying tentacle nestled in amongst long-forgotten treasure, of course, something that is traditionally buried and which you need to dig for. And I'm sure that's nothing. And actually, now it definitely is nothing, as in 10.5, Blizz removed the suspicious eye and tentacle and replaced them with Easter eggs, cheeky bastards. Once the expansion went live, the focus was mostly on the exciting new zones and characters that we meet on our leveling journey, with the main antagonists being the Primalists and Razageth. But if you think that means putting the old gods on the back burner, burner for a bit, well, think again. Because of course we find time in all of that leveling to actually go back in time to the Black Empire
This is a
itself
great
and
quest
chat
line.
to all of the old gods. The Valdrakken time-traveling leveling quests are absolutely glorious, and when we go on our Turbo World Tour of important historical events, chasing Chromie and Eternus, who is definitely, obviously, Infinite Dragon Chromie if you ask me, through the timeline, the fact that we end up in Nyalotha as our final stop is a great little twist. But it's no big deal, right? I mean, we've been here
Interesting
before,
thought.
after all.
He thinks Eternus is Infinite Dragonflight Chromie? Yeah, that would be cool if that was
This is just a reused environment from the 8.3 raid. Well, not quite. Don't forget, that raid took place in a vision of Nyalotha. This place we find
That's
ourselves
right.
in the quest is the actual real-life place. And not only
Yes.
that, but all of the old gods appear to be alive at this point, and we get whispers from all of them. Recognizable ones from Cthulhu, Yasharaj, and Yogg-Saron, but some new ones too, including I Know You. What
I
you
love
were,
this one.
what you will yet be. You will follow him to the dark places. The dark waters will flow in his wake. Since
That's
the other
right.
three fleshy boys are all accounted for in the whispers, it's fair to assume these are from the Zoth. And here's a rather beautiful theory. I
Smartest
don't
of
know
them
about
all.
you, but my character, Mavamwi, still wears the Eye of N'Zoth. Because of course I do, and if you don't, you're not doing the game right. Every time I go to a BFA zone, it reappears, and I get whispers. Canonically, I am always wearing this thing, which means I was wearing the Eye of N'Zoth when I
We had a
did
fight on a
these
simulator,
quests.
basically, yep.
N'Zoth's eye, which
Basically.
he can see through, which means that when I arrived in ancient Black Empire times, I took part of N'Zoth from our time that has seen everything up until the moment I entered the time portal.
You gave
to
him
a
a piece of the
place
future,
where
essentially.
ancient, or I guess young, N'Zoth was. And that's why he says he knows me, because me arriving there with the eye has instantly shown him the next million years of
Yep.
future events. And I don't know, I just feel like that might be important, you know? I feel like maybe showing a superpowered god who sees every possible future, exactly which single future
shown
will
it.
happen, and exactly what
100%, right? That's the thing about the old gods. They see like the difference between them and the side of the light / Titans and all that is the light side only sees one true path, and they try to push everything into that one future, where the old gods and the void see all futures, but they don't know which one will become the true future. Well, N'Zoth knows. We've shown it to him. So how much power did we just put in his hands? He is essentially the only one from both sides, the light and the void, who knows which future is the truth and will come.
he needs to do to prepare for it might have massive significance and consequences. It just feels like it might turn out to be
Crazy.
important later on is all. There is one tantalizing other little detail that I love to point out in 10.1. At Vathros Summit, next to Vathros Tower, that spectacular and instantly recognizable structure in the Azure Span. I was up a mountain there one day collecting a dragon riding glyph, and when I swooped down through the fiery elemental bit, I couldn't help noticing that the environment, well, it's N'Zoth, right? And not it looks a bit like N'Zoth lol, but it looks so exactly like N'Zoth.
Right here. That's his head. You see his eyes. Tentacles coming out. I mean, yeah, it totally looks like N'Zoth. I don't think this is like by accident. This looks exactly like the outline of N'Zoth.
Right down to the three orange eyes and swirly tentacle-shaped rocks, that it can only have been designed that way on purpose, in my opinion. But why?
Doubt it.
Well,
I don't think it
honestly,
was an
a good
accident.
enough reason would be because a
Looks
designer
very
wanted to
accurate.
subconsciously keep the idea of old gods in the back of our minds, while we were doing otherwise old god-free opening patch stuff. But I think there might be another reason too. Vathros Tower is criminally underused in Dragonflight. In Azure Span leveling, we defend it from Razgeth, who wants to get something from inside, but no one really knows what. And then we don't go in there ourselves, which
looks
is
like a
okay,
skeleton
whatever.
of
But
Galakrond.
then, when Iridikron and his gang are released at the end of the Vault of the Incarnates raid, Alexstrasza tells us how the Primal Earth Incarnate struck, and I quote, terrible bargains to keep their cause alive. The depths of his depravity unknown even to the other incarnates. And of course, it is impossible impossible to think of striking bargains with dark powers without thinking of our old friend. And then I think about Vakthros Tower again, because those icy spikes on it suggest that Razageth was not the first incarnate to try and get in there. Viranoth has had a go too, by looks of things. So whatever is
I didn't think
housed
about that.
inside
That's
is
right, she's
of
like the
massive
icy
importance
spikes
to the
girl.
group of baddies led by the Earth incarnate who struck terrible bargains. And actually, with that in mind, the fact that the environment around the tower has been made to look exactly like N'Zoth suddenly feels a bit more meaningful. And if Blizz have been impressively restrained in their old god hints in the opening patch, well, strap in, because they are about to put their foot down on the Void God pedal. The Forbidden Reach is so full of old god foreshadowing, it's a bit embarrassing. Like a work colleague constantly reminding you in an offhand way that it's their birthday next week. This is where Neltharion created, trained, and then imprisoned the Drakthir. It's where he fell to old god corruption and used his new
There's
old
all
god
that
power
shadow
to
flame
imprison
everywhere.
Razageth. And the entire island is just chock full of diaries and letters and other books just lying around the place, which set a suspiciously purple scene. Firstly, there's
right.
Naga everywhere for some reason, and found among them is A Song of the Depths, which starts by mentioning our queen calls to us from beyond the umbral veil, which you assume means Queen Ashara. In which case,
Interesting.
this
I haven't
confirms that
seen
she
this.
is not on Azeroth at all, or even in our plane of existence, but is currently living it up in the Void Realm right now. Or it could mean someone else. It could mean the Naga have found a new mistress, I suppose. This book also directly
probably
references some of
Azara.
Il'gynoth's whispers from Legion, saying that their mistress, whoever she is, has
I remember the last time we saw Azara, she was getting pulled into a void portal. Right? We beat her, and then all of a sudden the tentacles came out, picked her up, and then she wakes up and gets pulled in. So that makes sense that she's behind a veil.
transcended the circle of stars, and the torches have been lit. The Oathstones,
The torches will
perhaps?
light our
It talks
way.
about a primal power that seeks the end of order, which the Naga's Umbral Masters
got
seek to
kidnapped,
harness
yeah,
for their
essentially.
own ends. And that the Harbinger, whoever that is, will complete the awakening of a hunger lost to the ages, which to me definitely sounds like Galakrond, who was famously so hungry he ate all the other dragons and then vomited them
We
up
haven't
as undead
seen
dragons,
anything
and then hung out
about
with them a bit,
Galakron
and then
in
ate them
game
again.
yet. Like nothing really. I figured by now we would have seen him, honestly, but we haven't seen him at all. We've seen this little cutscene here, but I thought we were going to get some kind of vision, and we probably still will, but we haven't seen Galakron just yet.
Again, it does definitely feel like, according to the Naga at least, the forces of the Void are keeping tabs on the actions of Iridikron and the Incarnates. It seems almost looking to hijack their plans at an opportune moment. But who is the Harbinger they talk about? This book certainly raises a lot of questions that,
Sure does.
unusually for Old God Prophecy stuff, feels like we won't have to wait very long at all to have answered. Another super interesting book that we find on the Forbidden Reach is The Old Gods and the Ordering of Azeroth, annotated. A
Okay.
history book which has been in the game since vanilla, but which in this version has handwritten annotations alongside the established text from an unknown author that we can quite safely assume is Neltharion, since
Right.
this book was found in his private collection. Generally, these annotations are just talking shit about the Titans and how up themselves they are, but there are definitely a few pages which appear to
Look,
be
say what you want about Neltharion, he wasn't wrong about the Titans. He was cussing their lives out because they're a bunch of bitches. Lying-ass bitches. They've been lying to them the whole time, and Neltharion realized it. And it probably pushed him even more into the void, to realize that the people who gifted them their powers, the people who essentially they looked up to like gods, were a bunch of lying assholes. I think that would push you into the other side, that's for sure. Harbinger, yeah.
foreshadowing some more imminent Old God appearances too. In reference to the book saying, the Titans moved and shaped the earth until at last there remained one perfect continent. Our scribbly friend counters, the author of this tome is either a liar or a fool. Were they truly ignorant of that which lies beyond the waves? Which definitely seems to suggest
Pirate
another
expansion.
second continent, in addition to the original Kalimdor, which is the landmass
Well,
that eventually
Shahok, you're
formed
right.
all of the places that
You're
we
right.
know of in Azeroth. This talk of an extra unknown
tried.
continent is backed up by another 10.07 book, Return of the Night School, which tells of the famous night elf pirate who many years ago sailed to the west, beyond the
God.
impassable Sea of Storms to plunder
This
the
is the stuff that leaves everybody to believe that we're going to get some kind of like far off continent pirate expansion, the land beyond the waves or whatever they keep mentioning.
known lands beyond and succeeded. Next expansion looking very much like a new Western continent pirate adventure, and I am totally here for it.
Yeah,
The most
I'll be
fascinating
down
nugget
for it.
here for our purposes in this video, though, is when the book tells us the Pantheon shattered the old gods' citadels and chained the 5 evil old gods far beneath the surface of the world.
Yes.
The 5 old gods.
Huh?
The 1, 2, 3,
We
4,
only know about
5
4?
old gods. Oh shit. Now, like I
Yeah.
say, this book has been in the game since vanilla. It has always mentioned 5 old gods, but when Chronicle came out just before Legion and canonized just 4, it seemed like a retcon that meant that this book was just wrong, which is fair enough. It's
It may, at the time Chronicle came out, it may have been a retcon, but now they're retconning it again back to 5. That's totally, Blizzard's totally capable of that.
world book. It's allowed to just be flat out wrong, but what's interesting is
Cthulhu.
here we have the book being
Shape the old-
annotated by
shape
someone
God
who
is what?
clearly knows about the old gods and is probably by now wielding the power
Is
of the old gods.
Cthulhu is he one of the Lovecraftian gods? Because all these old gods are based on Lovecraft.
in disagreeing with just about everything they read in the book, but they have no problem with the mention of 5 old
He
gods.
is? Let me
Like
see
the
what he
book
looks
says,
like.
there was only one continent, and Scribbler goes, "No, you idiot! Why are you lying?" The book says the Titans imprisoned 5 old gods, and they're like, "Yep, no notes." But wait, here's the thing, because everyone says this means we've got one new old god that we've never heard of, but they're wrong. Amanthal's first plan.
So some people in chat are saying, "Oh, I hope he looks like this bad boy." So if you don't know, a lot of the old gods are based on Lovecraftian old god. Oh my god, this guy kind of looks like the faceless ones though, but he has a face slightly. He has some eyes. Oh my god, this would be one badass old god. Holy crap, I'd be down for something like this. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my god. Yeah, so an old god that looks something like this. Yeah, so if you guys don't know what Lovecraft is, you can look him up. Almost everything old god related is based on stuff that he's written up and drawn up. Very cool. Yeah. This would be one sick looking old god, that's for sure.
Was to just rip Yashiraj out of Azeroth,
So much
tearing
Lovecraft
him
in
to
WoW,
many
yeah,
pieces
for sure.
and killing him in the process.
I didn't know about
causing the
Lovecraft
deep
until
wound
WoW.
of the Well of Eternity in the planet's
did find
crust.
out about
a
it.
result that meant the Titans all agreed that the whole ripping them out of the Earth plan was far too dangerous to try again, which is why
Right.
they just imprisoned the remaining old gods where they stood, underground. But they only imprisoned 3 old gods that we know of, because Yashiraj was already dead by that
Yeah,
point.
they ripped
And the
him
book
out.
says they imprisoned 5. So there's not one new old god,
Ooh.
is there? There's 2. Oh shit.
What? I see what he's saying. Unless first of all, it could be a mistake, like a little bit of messed up lore. Or it could be that, they ripped him out and considered that to be his imprisonment. Or he's right, and there's still 2 old gods that are imprisoned on Azeroth.
Shit. Blizzard definitely giving themselves some scope to have plenty of old god fun in the future here, I think.
Maybe.
And if you think that's a lot of old gods, wait until you see patch 10.1. Because fam, your little Eye of N'Zoth ain't seen nothing yet. Embers of Neltharion is basically taking the piss with how much old god seasoning it is adding to the mix. I mean, the whole place is Neltharion's secret underground facility, which he
Right.
started building when he was just the plain old Earth Warder, but was fully under old god control by the time he finished.
Tally
So
delving
to take
into
a journey through
Torrent
Aberrus is to take a
maybe.
journey through the timeline of Neltharion's
A lot of speculation
descent into
here.
corruption in a way. One of his big projects was
Imprisoned
the
on the
development
graveyard,
of
yeah.
Shadow Flame, a power that has always been associated with Deathwing and the Black Dragons, but which we get to see the origins of here. Created by the violent forging of fire and shadow elementals, it's really interesting that the shadow forces Neltharion
I
fused
love this the Shadow Flame animation. Elemation sounds pretty cool. Elemental animations. Elemation, new word. Every mount that I've seen that has this fire flame, shadow flame stuff on it, I love it. Very cool stuff.
with by giving in to the old god corruption weren't just a weapon that he wielded, but something that he studied, experimented with, and iterated on, and in some ways improved. More exciting than that, though, I think there is a lot of evidence to suggest that Aberrus isn't the only thing we should be worried about down in the Zaralek Caverns. I think it's a pretty good shout that there is an old god down here too. When we first enter the caverns with our black Dragonflight buddies,
That would be cool.
Abyssian, Rathian, and Sibelian, they reveal to us that they are being
there is an old god, I bet. Or at least some old god influence. You're looking at him. I don't trust Sibelian. I still don't trust him. My man is still influenced by the old gods. This guy disappeared sat on some dragon eggs, and then just showed up to lead the Black Dragonflight. Get the hell out of here. This guy, I don't trust him. We know Rathian is clean. Right? We don't know anything about Sibelian. He claims to be clean. We don't know.
Constantly bombarded with whispers the whole time they are there, something which it takes all of their strength and concentration to resist. There is corruption in the air here, and the assumption is, I guess, that Neltharion brought that corruption with him when he succumbed to the old gods, that the caverns and Aberrus are infected through him. But what if it's the other way round? What if the old god corruption was always here, and in fact it was Neltharion digging deeper into the ground to start building Aberrus, something we know he did before he was corrupted, and getting closer and closer to the hidden old god beneath, which allowed those whispers to overpower him. That would explain why the whispers are so strong, because they are not echoes, they are happening right now. It would mean that whatever corrupted Neltharion is still there.
Shadowlands lore
very
doesn't
bad
exist
news for us. And I think that theory is strengthened by the now pretty famous presence of a little fishy friend in one of the pools in the caverns. This little chap who looks suspiciously like the form N'Zoth took to make his deal
I'm gonna go
with
kill that
Ashara.
fish as soon as we get in
Definitely suggesting a real old god presence here. But even more interesting than that, everyone's saying that this fish is a representative of N'Zoth, but I don't think it is, for a really dumb and simple reason. N'Zoth's eyes are orange. In every incarnation, his eyes glow orange. His old god eyes, his hat eye, his random flesh eyes out and about, his fish eyes. Obviously, this chap's eyes are purple. So I don't think this is a physical embodiment or harbinger of N'Zoth specifically, as much as it is something which just happens to fish when they are near an old god. You can find the same model in the waters of Nazjatar, and I think this is pretty strong evidence that there is an imprisoned old god under here, just like there was under the Eternal Palace. Almost certainly, in my opinion, one of those two undiscovered old gods that we read about earlier.
Oh, this right here we see purple eyes. So we do know some old gods have purple eyes. Yes, N'Zoth is not one of them, though.
And that should really be the end of the video, shouldn't it? We've covered the pretty explicit old god hints and foreshadowing from the very start of the expansion all the way through the current patches and onto the PTR, which should leave us with very little doubt that this story is building to an old god reveal, probably at the end of the Aberrus raid. But actually, it gets even better, because it seems that by looking for old gods, we may have been setting our sights a little bit low, and it's all because of that raid, and in particular, the final two bosses in Aberrus, the Echo of Neltharion and Sarkareth. And rightfully so, because the end of this next raid is going full-on Void Disco Party.
Hello everyone, it's me, yet again, extolling the virtues of Squarespace, who are sponsoring today's video, and encouraging you to take advantage of their brilliant platform, which is infinitely customizable, flexible for any kind of website.
What if it turns out Squarespace is the next old god?
Templates to boot.
That's right.
So we've spent a lot of time
the harbinger of
templates, making sure everything looks just right, and even digging a bit into analytics. But what really makes Squarespace shine for me is its effortless integration system, which is almost as effortless as this ad integration. Smooth as butter. But honestly, I love the sheer variety and usefulness of integrated tools on Squarespace.
I love the Taliesin streaming room that he streams in now. We've rated him before.
Want to open up to donations and
the room behind Taliesin or Evitel in this ad.
Look at this beautiful button.
Awesome.
Exclusive members only zone. Look, there it is. In all seriousness, if you guys can think of some kind of members only content that we could legally, respectfully provide, I'm gonna set this up and build it for you. That's how bad I want to use this tool. And look, I can even pull in our live Twitter feed, every single tweet updated 24/7. And actually, you know what? I'm just gonna
SamiccusFeet.com brought to you by
How many widgets could you cram into one site?
Head
to squarespace.com and find out with a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/TaliesinEvitel and use code TaliesinEvitel to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/TaliesinEvitel.
Hey Effie, where did my Twitter posts go?
Oh, don't know.
The Echo of Neltharion is the residual leftover essence of Neltharion in his old gaff, and the various stages of the fight seem to almost tell the story of his corruption. Phase 1 being entitled The Earth Warder, with him using earthen abilities, as you might imagine he would have done when he was a plain old dragon aspect. Phase 2 is Corruption Takes Hold, which apparently sees him start to summon voices from beyond, these faceless ones from the Void Realm, and also cast corruptions on the player characters. And in Phase 3, Shattered Reality, he is literally just opening portals.
I wonder if we're gonna get little corruption circles and you guys can't touch each other to spread the please. That's what I could already picture it. I already know what's gonna happen. I'm going to be yelling at Raid, guys, don't spread the corruption. Please stop spreading the corruption. Guys, stop it. Stop touching each other. Everybody calm down. Stop spreading the corruption, please. Yeah, I can already see the issues.
To the Void Realm itself,
Andy 2.0,
hordes of twisting aberrations through. So, you know, not much ambiguity there. And likewise, final boss Sarkareth, who takes his mission to claim Neltharion's power, which he sees as his inheritance and legacy for his...
He looks like he already has void cracks in him. Look at him. Look at those thighs. He doesn't skip leg day. Look at the arms.
Remains true to his word, going through a very similar journey during the fight himself, with Phase 1 seeing him use Drakthir abilities, mixed with a little bit of Void goodness in Phase 2, a touch of the Forbidden, and then full surrender to his new Voidy Masters in Phase 3, Seas of Infinity, where he is ripping open portals to infinity, chucking asteroids around, striking players with the full gravity of space. Make sure you use some self-mitigation for that one, I guess. And stranding players in the vastness of infinite space, where they appear to start losing fragments of their mind. And look, also, we have to mention it, there's no getting away from it. Sarkareth's boss room appears to be on top of an old god prison. The broken chains and swirling physics-defying shattered bricks, incredibly reminiscent of Yogg-Saron's cell in Ulduar.
Very cool.
And just like in that room, there's a stained glass window depicting the old god that is interred there, which will be one of those 2 new ones I'm so excited about, won't it? Well, okay, apparently not, actually, because this window clearly depicts Yasharaj, the supposedly most powerful of the OG old gods that got ripped out of the planet by Armen Thul and killed? He was killed, right? But then if he was killed, why does he have a jail cell? I am very confused.
I think the Titans are kind of messed up, man. They probably didn't kill him. They probably kept him to, you know, farm him for something or try to understand something, keep him as a prisoner. Who knows? Oh, never mind. The skybox will be replaced for sure on the last boss. We actually looked at that before. That's right. The skybox will be replaced with at some point during the fight, with some big void skybox.
Okay, hear me out. When demons die, they go to the Twisting Nether to regenerate over thousands of years. It's possible when old gods die, they go to the Void Realm to do the same. Could the Titans have somehow intercepted or found Yasharaj's, I guess, soul in the Void or near the Void and imprisoned it there to stop it regenerating? That would explain why the cell appears to be in the middle of space, certainly. And it is totally feasible that after millions of years, with no Titans checking in, Yasharaj might have been able to regain his strength and form anyway, just in time to do some serious corrupting. Or, you know, now I think about it, maybe it's not Yasharaj at all. And actually, now I think about it, there does appear to be a stained glass window of Yasharaj in Yogg-Saron's room as well. In fact, now I think about it, the actual window depicting Yogg-Saron was broken to signify the fact that he got out of jail.
Right.
So, I don't know. I guess this cell could basically be for anyone, but someone, probably an old god, certainly an old god, was definitely confined here, and I would like to know who.
Yeah,
and both these fights are especially interesting for a reason that you may well have already picked up on. This video is supposed to be about old god foreshadowing, but actually it seems we might have been thinking too small, because there is a distinct lack of tentacles and fleshy bits going on in this Sarkareth fight especially. Instead, it's all about the infinite, the empty, the void itself. Don't forget, the old gods may be our reference point for the void in our reality, but they are essentially just flesh drones created in the Void Realm with these...
They are the Titans of the Void. That's what the old gods are, right? You got the light side creating Titans, right, to rule over things. You got the Void. They created the old gods to rule over things.
Whole purpose of being fired off into our reality in the hope of landing on a Titan world soul planet and corrupting it. They are not valued members of Void society. They are weapons and don't necessarily represent what we would find if we were able to make our way to the Void Realm proper. And the Sarkareth fight definitely seems to confirm this. It turns out that all these hints we've been picking up throughout the expansion maybe aren't foretelling the coming of an old god, but of the Void itself. And that is frankly a much scarier prospect and a much more interesting prospect, because it opens the door to a kind of Lovecraftian horror that WoW has never really touched before. The maddening incomprehensibility of just emptiness. I think that's hinted at really well with the emptiness between stars ability that I mentioned earlier. Old gods take up space. They fill it with flesh and tentacles and whispers and eyes, like billions of eyes.
Right.
Void is just kind of
Nothing.
Nothing. It's negative space, vastness, silence. Our tiny mortal minds can't comprehend of the kind of being that exists in the space between stars on a different plane of reality, but whether we're ready for it or not, it seems like we might be about to find out.
That's right.
But what do you think? What role will the old gods take in this expansion? Will it be one that we've encountered before?
Some
or
dark
one of the
stuff,
two
man.
hinted at undiscovered tentacly
Relaxing.
boys? Will we be skipping them entirely and releasing
The chaos
void
between the
lords
stars.
on an unsuspecting
The
world?
void.
Let us know in
Joshua
the comments
finds it
below.
relaxing.
And thank you for joining us today. If you like this video, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who give their actual real-life money to make all of our work happen. And seriously, patrons, thank you. Because without you, there would be a whole lot less Taliesin and Evitel. If you didn't like it,
I like this
downvote
video.
the shit out of it. Remember, my name
He
is
did miss one
Doran's
thing, though.
Movies. No, my name is Taliesin from me and Evitel and the kids and the Zoth and Zalatath too. Cheerio.
He forgot to talk about Sibelian and the fact that he's corrupt. That's right.